All right, everyone, get ready, because today we are going deep on something that's literally all around us, EMF radiation. You know, those invisible waves from our phones, laptops, even power lines.
Right.
We've got a ton of research here, and honestly, the stuff I've been reading is kind of freaking me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we love all our devices, but there's this question, what is it doing to us, long term?
Exactly. I mean, everyone knows about X-rays, and you got to wear the lead vest at the dentist.
Right.
That's the ionizing radiation, the really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
But our phones and Wi-Fi, that's non-ionizing. And we are swimming in it, 247, and that's what we're looking at today. Could there be hidden costs to all this wireless convenience?
The million-dollar question, and research is starting to give us some answers, and some of them are a little creepy.
Oh, great.
Let's start with the big one that everyone worries about, cancer.
Okay, yeah, cancer. I've seen those headlines linking cell phones to brain tumors, and to be honest, that's what made me want to do this whole deep dive in the first place.
Sure.
Should I be sleeping with my phone under my pillow or like in another zip code?
Well, I wouldn't recommend either extreme.
Okay.
The World Health Organization, they call the radiation from phones possibly carcinogenic.
Okay.
Which basically means there are hints of a link to cancer, but not definitively proven.
So not totally off the hook, but not a guaranteed death sentence either.
Don't worry.
But you mentioned research, and we've got those studies right here. What are they telling us?
A couple really stand out. The U.S. National Toxicology Program, they did a big study, and also the Ramazzini Institute study.
Okay.
Both exposed rats to high levels of cell phone type radiation for a long time. And what they found is definitely making scientists pay attention.
Okay, lay it on me. What did they find? And do rats even, what happens to rats? Does it even apply to humans? They're not exactly scrolling TikTok all day.
Right, good point.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but it's the best model we have for long-term exposure.
Sure.
And these studies found an increased risk of certain tumors in the rats, particularly heart and brain tumors.
Whoa, okay, so not exactly something you can just brush off, even if it is just rats.
Exactly. And while we can't say for sure if these findings apply directly to humans,
right,
it's a strong signal we need to keep digging, especially given how much we use our phones.
Makes you think twice about those late-night scrolling sessions. But okay, cancer aside, I've also heard whispers about EMFs messing with our brains in other ways, like memory and focus. Is that just like internet paranoia, or is there something to it?
There's definitely some science behind it.
Okay.
We're starting to see studies linking long-term EMF exposure to things like memory problems, decreased cognitive function, and even potentially increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
Hold up, Alzheimer's. That's serious. Are you saying our phones could be contributing to that?
It's still an open question, but some researchers believe EMFs might cause something called oxidative stress in the brain.
Okay.
Think of it like rust accumulating on a car.
Right.
Over time, that can lead to damage and dysfunction.
So this constant EMF bath, it could be causing this rust buildup in our brains, leading to those memory glitches and potentially worse down the road. That's unnerving.
It's definitely an area we need to investigate further, but it raises another interesting question. Could some people be more sensitive to EMFs than others?
Okay.
We see these anecdotal stories of people getting headaches, fatigue, even skin problems when they're around EMFs.
Right. Electromagnetic hypersensitivity, or EHS.
Exactly.
I know some people swear it's real, others say it's all in their heads. What's the scientific consensus?
Well, the truth is the jury is still out on EHS.
Okay.
It's not officially recognized as a medical disorder.
Okay.
And the research is mixed. Some studies have found a possible link, others haven't.
So, a real head scratcher. But even if we don't fully understand EHS, it seems like for at least some people, EMF exposure is causing very real problems.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Those experiences are very real to those people, even if we don't have a clear explanation.
Yeah.
It just shows how complicated this issue is and that we need more research that takes those individual experiences seriously.
Okay, so we've got cancer concerns, potential brain impacts, and this whole EHS mystery. Where do we go from here? What else should we be thinking about when it comes to the long-term effects of EMFs?
Well, there's some research that suggests that EMF radiation could be messing with our hormones, too.
Oh, no, not our hormones, too.
Yeah, specifically there's concern that EMFs could be disrupting the production of melatonin.
Okay, melatonin, that's the sleep hormone, right? Like the one that makes you all sleepy when it gets dark.
Right.
So if EMFs are messing with that, it's not just bad sleep we're talking about, right?
Exactly. Melatonin is way more than just the sleep regulator.
Okay.
It's a powerful antioxidant. It helps our immune system.
Okay.
And there's even potential anti-cancer effects. So messing with melatonin could have like a ripple effect throughout our bodies.
So if I'm getting this right, less melatonin means not only am I tossing and turning all night,
right,
but my immune system might be weaker and even my cancer risk could go up. Seriously, just from like being around my phone and Wi-Fi.
That's what some of the research is suggesting, yeah.
Wow.
And you mentioned those late night scrolling sessions earlier. Those could be especially problematic because the blue light from screens also suppresses melatonin.
Oh man, double whammy. This is starting to feel like a horror movie plot, but I'm guessing there's more.
Yeah.
What other health concerns are on the radar when it comes to this long-term EMF exposure?
Well, believe it or not, there's even research suggesting that EMFs could be impacting our hearts.
What?
Some studies have shown that chronic exposure might mess with something called heart rate variability.
Okay.
Which is basically how much our heart rate fluctuates naturally.
Okay, I'm no cardiologist, but I'm guessing that's not a good thing if our heart rate's not doing what it's supposed to.
Yeah, not ideal.
So what's the big deal about heart rate variability?
It's actually a really good indicator of our overall health.
Okay.
And how well our body is handling stress. Think of it like this. A healthy heart rate is like a good jazz musician, you know?
Go.
Improvising, nice variation in the rhythm.
Okay.
A heart rate that's too rigid, too predictable, that can be a sign that something's off.
So if EMFs are making our heart rhythm like too square, so to speak, what does that mean for our health?
Well, it could mean our bodies aren't adapting as well to the EMF exposure, and it might even increase the risk of developing hypertension or high blood pressure.
And as you know, high blood pressure is a major risk factor for all sorts of serious heart problems down the line.
Exactly. Heart attacks, strokes, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, not messing around with that.
Right.
Okay, we've covered a lot of scary stuff here.
Right.
But I'm hoping you have some good news for us. What can we actually do about all this? It feels kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like we're surrounded by this invisible threat.
It's understandable to feel that way, but don't panic. Okay. There are definitely things you can do to minimize your exposure without having to, like, live off the grid.
Okay, good.
The key is to be mindful and take some simple precautions.
Okay.
Let's start with cell phones, since those are probably the biggest EMF source for most people.
Okay, so what are some cell phone specific tips besides, like, throwing it in the ocean?
Well, that's one option, but not very practical.
Right.
One of the simplest things you can do is avoid pressing your phone directly against your ear when you're talking.
Okay.
Using speakerphone or a wired headset drastically reduces the amount of radiation your head absorbs.
What about those Bluetooth headsets? I thought those were supposed to be better than holding the phone to your ear. But they still emit some radiation, right?
They do, yeah. Although it's significantly less than your phone, but if you're really concerned about minimizing exposure...
Right.
Wired headsets are the safest bet.
Okay, noted. What about texting and browsing? Should I be freaking out about holding my phone in my hand all day?
It's wise to be mindful, especially if you're using it for long stretches. Remember those studies we talked about regarding sperm quality?
Yeah.
Keeping your phone in your pocket all day might not be doing you any favors, especially if you're a guy.
Yikes. Message received, loud and clear.
Good.
What about at night? Should my phone be sleeping in another room? Or at least on a timeout across the room?
Given what we know about EMF radiation and melatonin, it's definitely best to avoid having your phone right next to your head while you sleep.
Okay.
Across the room is ideal, but even a few feet away is better than nothing.
So basically, treat your phone like a cute but potentially troublesome pet. Keep it close, but give it some boundaries.
I like that analogy.
Okay, so we've got our phone habits in check. What about all the other EMF emitting devices in our homes? Wi-Fi routers, laptops, tablets, the whole shebang.
Right. Those are all important to consider, too.
Yeah.
With Wi-Fi, try turning off your router at night when you're not using it. Not only reduces your exposure, but might help you sleep better, too.
I never thought about turning off my Wi-Fi at night, but it makes sense, especially if it's messing with my melatonin.
Exactly. And think about the placement of your devices, you know?
Yeah.
Try to avoid keeping them super close to your bed or where you spend a lot of time.
Right.
If you work from home, try not to have your laptop on your lap all day.
Yeah.
Use a desk or a table instead.
It's all about creating some healthy distance, right?
Exactly. Distance is your friend when it comes to EMFs.
Speaking of friends, are there any gadgets or products out there that can help us out here? Like EMF blocking shields or something?
There are. There's a growing market for EMF shielding devices, things like phone cases, screen protectors, even clothing designed to block EMFs.
Hold on, EMF blocking clothes? That's a thing.
It is.
Do they even work?
Well, the effectiveness can vary, so it's important to do your research before you invest.
Okay.
Some products may be more effective than others, and it's always good to look for products that have been independently tested.
So buyer beware.
Exactly. And beyond those gadgets, remember that a healthy lifestyle can also help mitigate the potential effects of EMFs.
Okay.
Eating a diet rich in antioxidants, regular exercise, and managing stress can all help combat that cellular rust we talked about earlier.
So it's not just about avoiding EMS, but also making our bodies more resilient, kind of like building up our defenses against this invisible invader.
I like that. It's a great way to put it.
Cool.
It's all about a holistic approach to well-being, recognizing that EMFs are just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, this has been a wild ride, but also really eye-opening. I feel like I've gone from blissfully ignorant to mildly terrified, and now landing somewhere in the cautiously optimistic range.
I think that's a pretty natural progression when you start learning about this stuff. The key is not to get overwhelmed.
Right.
But to use this knowledge to empower yourself.
Absolutely. And speaking of empowerment, I think it's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we do, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought for now.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the potential risks of EMF exposure, but we haven't really talked about the incredible benefits of the technology that emits these EMFs.
Right.
Our cell phones, our laptops, Wi-Fi, these are all amazing tools that have revolutionized the way we live, work, and connect.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
It's easy to get fixated on the negatives, but we shouldn't lose sight of the good that comes with this technology.
For sure.
So as we move forward, I think the challenge is finding a balance,
Yeah.
to embrace the power of technology while also being mindful of its potential impact on our health, to use it wisely, to protect ourselves, and to advocate for further research so we can continue to learn and make informed decisions.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's all about finding that sweet spot, that balance between harnessing the power of technology and safeguarding our well-being.
And on that note, we'll take a quick pause, but don't go anywhere, because we're coming back with more insights and some thought-provoking questions to leave you pondering. Okay, we're back, ready to wrap up our EMF deep dive. It's kind of mind-blowing to think that just a few decades ago, invisible waves from our gadgets seemed like, science fiction.
Right.
And now it's all anyone's talking about, and for good reason.
It really is remarkable how quickly our understanding of EMF radiation has changed.
Yeah.
And we're still just at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's so much we don't know yet about the long-term effects. And that's what makes it so fascinating. And let's be honest, a little creepy.
Absolutely. It's like we're peeling back the layers of this invisible world.
Right.
And with each new discovery, there are more questions. What are some of the big unanswered questions that researchers are wrestling with right now?
Well, one of the huge challenges is figuring out cause and effect.
Yeah.
We see these links between EMF exposure and various health issues, but actually proving a direct connection.
Right.
That's super difficult.
Yeah, because it's not like you can just lock people in a room with a giant Wi-Fi router for 20 years and see what happens, right?
Right.
Ethical concerns aside, it's just not that simple.
It's way more complicated than that.
Yeah.
We're talking about chronic, low-level exposure over a really long time. And there's so many other factors involved. Genetics, lifestyle, environment.
Yeah.
It's like trying to put together a giant puzzle where some pieces are missing.
Sounds like scientists have their work cut out for them.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that's also what makes this research so important. We're all so reliant on this tech now.
Exactly. We can't just unplug from the modern world, and I don't think anyone's saying we should.
Right.
But we need solid research to understand the risks so we can make good decisions and maybe even invent new tech that's safer.
Right. So it's about finding that balance where we can use amazing tech without, sacrificing our health.
Yeah.
And that makes me think of something that's been in my head this whole time.
Okay.
We talked a lot about the dangers of EMFs, but what about all the good things this tech has brought us?
You're totally right to bring that up. It's easy to get scared, but we can't forget how much our phones, the internet, wireless, everything,
right,
how much they've changed, how we connect, how we learn, how we experience the world.
Yeah, imagine life without it.
I know, right?
So, as we wrap this up, I think the takeaway isn't to demonize tech, but to approach it with, awareness, a little skepticism.
Right.
Keep asking questions, demand more research, and make choices that feel good to us.
I totally agree. Knowledge is power, and the more we know about EMFs and what they can do, the better we'll be at navigating this digital world in a way that feels safe and like we're in control.
And on that note, I want to thank you all, our listeners, for coming along on this journey with us. Hope you learned something new, challenged some ideas, and maybe started thinking a little differently about this invisible world we live in.
And remember, this conversation doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, stay curious.